Hey, what's up? Silas here. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the saying, honesty is the best policy. And not necessarily being annoyed with it, but just kind of breaking it down and talking about that thing a bit. So recently there was this interview by Jordan Peterson, and I'm going to leave a clip of pretty much a 10-second summary of the interview. Yeah, so that was the Jordan Peterson interview. This particular clip was a part where he was talking about the happiness of people who make certain decisions, and then the interview is like, so you mean it makes them miserable? He's like, not necessarily. And that was a back and forth thing. He would make a statement, and then she would kind of give an assumption of what it seems like he's saying, versus actually just taking what he's saying by the words. And with what Jordan Peterson said in this interview, there's a part where he said, I'm very particular about my words. Now, I too tend to be very particular about my words. Some people have told me that it can get actually annoying to talk to me sometimes because of how much I'll actually be like, okay, what do you mean by this? What do you mean by that? Now, it's hard enough when people lie, because people do tell lies. And I think part of this whole thing of people saying, oh, do you mean this? It seems like you mean this, is because there's a general mistrust out there that people aren't really honest with what they're meaning, what they're saying. That's why I think when people say things, people say, oh, so you mean this instead. No, no, no. If honesty truly was the best policy, then I think people would accept more that people actually just say what they say and believe what people say. So, going back to this honesty is the best policy thing, is it truly the best policy? With Jordan Peterson, I think, with what he was saying in this interview, I had heard other people say it before. I've been following the manosphere and MGTOW kind of circles, men going their own way, have been talking about different gender relations and things like that for a while. Now, some of these people will talk about it in a more, say, like edgy way. They'd be more depreciative of female nature, the whole not Nawal thing, not all women are like that thing, where they make statements, say women are like this, and then someone will come in, oh, I know this other person is not like that, and then it's like, oh, not all women are like this. But some people are like, yes. There's a few people out there who just outright will be like, women are children. Like I've talked about Turd Flinging Monkey before in a previous video, where he just proposes that women are children. And in some cases, if they don't have the responsibility, if they have certain behaviors that way, then it kind of makes sense. But the material that Jordan Peterson was saying, it was true. He wasn't making things up. He wasn't lying. But people have taken that material and twisted it in a different way. But one of the positives about Jordan Peterson versus the other people who have heard speaking about these things is the way he says things. Now, he's a psychologist, so he has a way about himself, the way he composes himself, the way he carries himself, the way he communicates. To understand, if I just communicate something to somebody in a certain way, even if it's this complete fact, you have to understand this person might take this in a certain way. This person might have a certain bias. This person may be coming from a certain place where honesty may not be the only policy to follow. And when I say honesty is the best policy, also does not necessarily mean what you have to do at all times. Policy is something that you say, I think, okay, we can try and do this. We can try and follow these things. We can try and aim for this goal and have a world that's lived in this certain way. But does that mean you have to do it all the time? Because there are some cases where I think if you just come out and you just honestly say what you're thinking in just the most bare bones way possible, people may not accept it. So some of the material that Jordan Peterson is saying, I think is positive because he couches it in a certain way where he's not necessarily lying, but he's not just coming out and being like, yes, you're completely outside, you're completely wrong, you're completely this, you're completely that. Now, continuing this thing, there are some situations where actually completely lying may be the positive thing to do, or the optimal or preferential thing to do. A simple example is if you're in some kind of hostage situation, or somebody breaks into a place where you are, you have some kids maybe hiding upstairs or something, and then the person comes in and you can tell they're up to no good, you can tell they're violent, they're physically attacking the people who are downstairs, and then they ask you, is there anybody else in this building? Now, what would the best thing to do at that time be? Would it to be honest and say, yes, there's 3 kids hiding upstairs, you should go get them? Or do you lie? Now, What if this person knows that there's 3 kids hiding upstairs, and for some weird reason, the person is actually thinking if you're actually honest about that, he's going to let everyone go. But then if you lie about it, he'll end up killing everyone. That's such a minute kind of consideration to make, where in most cases, the thing to do would be to lie in that situation. So with that as an example, I know it's a little far-fetched of an example, but can you guys think of certain times where you think, okay, telling the truth might actually be completely wrong? Like a simple one is if somebody is getting dressed and they ask you, okay, how do I look in this? Now, depending where that person is going, I think it kind of depends. Like this one thing I used to wonder with things like American Idol and these kind of singing talent show type things. Some people would go there and they'd be really horrible at what they're doing. And you'd wonder, like, how do they have no family members or somebody close to them who told them, like, hey, you can't sing or you can't really perform this way? And there's some inside baseball stuff that I heard when the actual judges are doing it. You know how everyone comes into the room, and at the start, the people are practicing outside. The people who can sing really well they're singing. The people who sing really bad are singing, and they can hear everybody singing. And the people in the middle are the ones who are rejected by the initial judges. So it gets to the point where some of the people who can't sing really well see that only the people who can sing really well, who they can hear sing really well, are allowed to go to the next round. And if they're allowed to go to the next round, that boosts them again, where they think like, wait, maybe I do actually have something. So in that example, the judges, their intention is to actually make a more entertaining product for whatever show that they're on. So they are being true to that intention. Now, the person who's actually going on there, who can't sing well, they're just going to get passed on to the next round, get psyched and get their hopes up, and then get dashed when they get to like Simon Cowell or the top judges or anything, and just have people laugh at them on national television. They may consider themselves having been lied to, but then if they knew the actual intention of the show, the actual purpose back there, then is there actually some dishonesty going on in that situation? Because when those judges say that you pass on to the next round, they're not necessarily saying that you pass on to the next round because you're good at singing, but you pass on to the next round because you're good for the show. So winding this down, there's this weird beeping going on. I don't know if you can hear it. I don't know what kind of creature that is, but it sounds like a digital thing. It sounds mechanical, but it's actually just out in, it's biological. Okay, so honesty is the best policy. I think honesty is the best policy, but it's not necessarily the best practice, because the practicality of it is a whole different thing. Going back to that Jordan Peterson interview, depending on how you look at the world, people can see that interview and honestly think that he was being sexist. I've seen reports and people who seriously, honestly think in their worldview that what he said was attacking this female and things like that. And then there's other people who see it like I do and just see that he was kind of holding back, and he did a masterful job and imparted a lot of really factual information. So personally for me, honesty has been the best policy. It's something that I kind of stick to. I'm kind of a stickler on that. I really try to be as honest about things as possible. Now, I may not have benefited. There might be some situations where somebody could argue if I had told a little lie, a little white lie, or just massaged the truth in some way, I might be able to get ahead financially or socially or somewhat through that. But personally, I've gone with the honesty as the best policy thing. So the practicality about that is an issue. But one positive thing about that is based with this other saying: oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. So with that, for me, it's the memory thing. I've traveled around a lot, doing a lot of things, in and out, know a lot of different people. But if you live your life honestly, if you just tell people the truth, you only tell people what has happened, what you saw, what you heard, what you did, then you don't have to keep remembering these different little worlds that you created with all these other people. You don't have to remember like, okay, 3 weeks ago this happened, and you're sitting and having a conversation with some new people, and then somebody's in there, but you told that person a lie about what you did, and then now you have to think, okay, these people, if I told this person a lie, I can either be honest and tell these people the full truth and then be exposed as a liar to this person, or these people who are not even related to the situation, now I'm going to carry on that lie. I have to first of all remember the exact lie I told that person, and carry it on here. And now I've added all these other people into this lie. And now these other people are taking this information about me that's not true, and then they may go tell somebody else, and that other person may come to me and ask me something about that particular situation that never occurred. And you're like, okay, why are you talking about this? Why are you making this thing up about me? But you ended up telling this person something about you that wasn't true because you were keeping this lie that you told this other person, and then now that person told somebody else, and then that person met you and came back to you, and then so that's the tangled web that I think people weave when practice to deceive, when people don't tell the truth. So that's the thing. I think in people's workplaces, people's personal relationships, how much of that do you think is actually true honesty? Do you think you can be truly comfortable in a relationship if you're not at least 75% honest with somebody? I know there's situations where people tell lies and people are like, this is a central thing, that big central lie that somebody told, and it's central to the relationship, and they feel if they ever actually let this slip, if they actually let the truth out, the whole relationship would crumble. But then I say, is there actually even a relationship if it's based on this falsehood? I mean, you are creating all these experiences, but if that falsehood is at the core of it, do you actually even have a relationship? Or are relationships defined by being honest, by that person truly knowing who you are, and you truly being present in that relationship and being able to be completely open? Now, that's personal relationships, of course, but then I think it is also workplaces. A lot of situations, people in offices, people in situations like that, it's almost encouraged for you to not be your true self. You have to be careful about what you say, careful about what you do. We see this a lot in the United States of America right now. People with certain conservative views on the political right, are under attack for their views. So that's it for now. Honesty is the best policy for me. I hope it is for you. I get along better with people who I think do hold that as the best policy and actually practice it. But let me know what you guys think about that. Links below to the merchandise store. Like, share, and subscribe. Until next video, goodbye.
Tell us how that philosophy is in any way comparable.
Sure, that's no problem. The first thing is that the philosophy presumes that group identity is paramount. That's the fundamental philosophy that drove the Soviet Union and Maoist China. And it's the fundamental philosophy of the left-wing activists. It's identity politics. It doesn't matter who you are as an individual, it matters who you are in terms of your group identity.
You're just
That's
saying
murderous,
things, though, to provoke, aren't you? I mean,
Not
you
a
are
bit.
a provocateur.
I never said
You're like
anything.
the alt-right that you hate to be compared to. You want to stir things up.
I'm only a provocateur insofar as when I say what I believe to be true, it's provocative. I don't provoke. Maybe for
You don't
humor
set out to
now
provoke.
and then. I'm not interested in provoking.